Real Talk Corner. Adasa, how are you?
Hi, I am fine, thank you. How are you, Esther?
Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago, and of course the globe. Welcome to Real Talk Corner. Adasa, how are you?
Hi, I am fine, thank you. How are you, Esther?
Well, good evening, Trinidad and Tobago, and our viewers internationally. I want to take this time to welcome once again to Real Talk Corner, where we are committed to conversations based not merely on emotion, nor political slogans or propaganda, but on information, evidence, and the national interest. I am your host, Dr. Esther Cruikshank, and with me is my dear friend, bubbly, oh my God, Hadassah Charles McCloud. Good evening to you, Hadassah. How was your day? How have you been?
I'm on. Good night, everybody.
Yes,
Good
you
night, Trinidad
are.
and Tobago. I'm great. How are you doing, Esther?
I am doing excellent by the grace of God. But as if it wasn't for the grace of God and His breath in our lungs. Well, for me, let me talk about me. I don't know what will happen. There are so many challenges that you face every day. You get up and you're grateful for being alive and for breathing the breath and everything else that goes with it. And sometimes you get so much sad stories, things that you never expect to hear. But you know what? I am always thankful and grateful that I'm alive. I'm in good health. My mental capacity is still, kicking good despite all the challenges we may have that presents itself when you least expect it, and especially when, the goodness of God is running after you. So I am thankful to God. I'm thankful for you, for my producer, and for all those who, surround me and pray for me and encourage me. I want to say thank you all so much. I want to thank God for our Prime Minister and her cabinet team of members and those who are working on and on behalf of the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. Hadassah, let me tell you, tonight is going to be an exceptional program. Tonight, I want Trinidad and Tobago to listen carefully. You see, I would hear ministers saying from time to time that there is so much that is happening and sometimes they don't want to talk. But we have to expose what the former government, the former administration has left this country, the mess that they have left this country in, very messy. And sometimes we don't want to talk about it, but how would the people know if we don't talk and keep it, sweep under the carpet? We have to talk about it. So tonight I want Trinidad and Tobago to listen, because every day we hear members of the opposition saying all the negative, asking what has this government done since they came into office in May 2025? What Kamala done and what has been fixed and what hasn't been completed. But before any leader and their party who governed Trinidad and Tobago for almost a decade, 10 consecutive years, lectures a government that entered office in May 2025 about what should already have been accomplished, there is another conversation that must take place. And that conversation is what happened during those 10 years. Tonight, I'm putting the question out. Okay? What happened in the last decade that the PNM was the administrator doing what they were doing? And I want to start off with Petrotrin, but I want to give my colleague, my co-host, the opportunity to say what she has to say before we get into that.
Oh, I'm going to take your lead this evening. I just wanted to greet the beautiful people of Trinidad and Tobago. And before I forget, my mom's birthday is on Thursday. So I just want to say
Woo!
early happy birthday to my mommy. She is going to be 72 years old. She hates when I say
Oh
her
my
age.
God. She hid, but she looks so good. Let me sing a happy birthday song for her one time now, man. A happy birthday to you. What is her name again? What's her name? Oh my gosh. Oh, that's what tell me your mom name. I forget. I forget her name.
Cynthia Chala.
Cynthia, I want to wish you all God's blessing. I want to declare upon your life that you would live until you die. Whenever that time comes and you would live
Oh my
happily,
God.
you would live. No, that's the reality, right? She would live until that appointed time and not live in despair and sorrow. And but she would live happy. She would enjoy her time on the first, on the face of the earth. So let me sing. Happy birthday to Cynthia. Happy birthday to Cynthia. Happy early birthday to Cynthia.
Aw.
Happy birthday to Cynthia. Woo!
Yay!
I hope she's going to enjoy her day and her dasa. Make sure and take good care of Mama, okay? Make sure and
I
take
plan.
good care of her. I hope she hear me. I hope she's listening and I didn't sing for no good reason, right? I hope she
No,
was
of course you
listening.
didn't sing in vain.
All right, so
Oh my
that
God.
is one of the highlights tonight. We are celebrating a woman of virtue, a woman of class, and we really wish her. I mean, she now start to live, right? She have made what the Bible said, 70 and 10. She passed that, and she's living the
Indeed.
grace of God now, and we want her to live it happily. It mustn't be a living of sadness, of depression, and wanting this and can't have this. She should be able, I mean, we have to be contented, but at the same time, we want to enjoy our lives. So, Cynthia, from the bottom of my heart and from Real Talk Corner team, we wish you a very happy early birthday, knowing that you're going to be having a great day with your daughter, who is our co-host here, Adasa. All right, God's grace and blessings to you. Yeah, so let's get on with the business of tonight's program. And I said
Yes.
before, I'm putting the question out. The PNM, which is the opposition now and their leadership, continue to try to bully the sitting government, continue to try to ask what they're doing, what they're not doing, to everything they do, they try to criticize like they forget they were there. And we want to ask the question, and I want the audience to ask the question, what have they done in the last 10 years, decades that they were in power? And let's start with Petrotrin because they're talking about unemployment and all these different things. But let's start. What happened with Petrotrin? What happened with employment? What happened with crime while they were in power? What happened to roads and infrastructure, water, healthcare, national debt? Oh my gosh, I want to talk about national debt. I just came from a meeting, hustling, in Caroni Central with Dr. Lee. You understand, having a budget consultation. And when you hear certain things from our Minister of Planning and Economic Affairs and Development, the kind of debt that we, the UNC government, took upon themselves when they came into office that was left by the
Inherited,
PNM.
yes.
Listen to me now. People need to know the truth. State enterprises, what happened? And then comes the most important question. What condition did the UNC government actually inherit in May 2025? That's tonight's conversation. It's not propaganda, not personalities. We're not attacking anybody. The record speaks for itself, and we want to start with Petrotrin. What happened? Let us begin with perhaps the most symbolic decision of the previous administration. Yes, Petrotrin is the highlight. Petrotrin, the Point of Pierre refinery, Hadassah was closed in November 2018. If I know who directly was affected would remember this, but the rest of Trinidad, they have short memory. They won't remember. The restructuring affected approximately 4,700 workers, including about 3,500 permanent workers and approximately 12 non-permanent workers. Severance was estimated at approximately $2.6 billion. Now tell me, if you are a permanent worker, so you expect to work until you retire, right? But now I want us to be fair. What did the PNM government say when they did what they did? They want to talk about the UNC government. The then government argued that the refinery had become financially unsustainable. Its budget, 29 budget statement said the refinery had been losing more than 2 billion annually, and that approximately 7 billion would have been required for restructuring. You hear, lies? Because I heard otherwise, and the proof was there. Upgrades and improve efficiencies. Therefore, according to the government at the time, the PNM, closure was the commercially viable alternative, they said. So those are their words and their reasoning. But here is my question tonight, people. Was shutting down the refinery the only possible solution? Could it have been restructured? Let's ask the question. Could strategic investment have been found? Could management have been changed? Could some operations have remained functioning while restructuring proceeded? Because whatever justification was advanced, the fact remains Trinidad and Tobago ceased refining petroleum at Pointe-a-Pierre in 2018. Trinidad and Tobago ceased refining. The country subsequently became dependent on imported refined fuels. Thousands of direct workers were displaced, and surrounding businesses and communities felt the economic consequences. So when the opposition asks the current government now, what are you doing about Petrotrin? And this is the question I can't understand. My response will always be, first tell Trinidad and Tobago who shut down the refinery, who it is, do that. And then let us discuss what this current government is trying to restore. Where are we now? The present government has publicly committed itself to pursuing a restart. And they have been saying that even while we were in opposition, to restart the refinery as of 2026. Discussions and expressions of interest from potential investors remain ongoing. The Ministry of Energy has stated that efforts are actively being advanced to restart operations. That distinction is important. The refinery has not yet restarted, so we would not tell the citizen that it has. What we can truthfully say is the former government closed it. The present government is attempting to find a commercially workable path to reopen it, and it is on its way. Hadassah, let me ask you, is if it took one government a decision to close a refinery that operated for generations, is it reasonable to demand that another government who is here now completely finance, rehabilitate, and restart that refinery overnight? Tell me, and I want the audience to put their comments as well, because this has been an ongoing thing for decades. PNM come in and they decide they want to do what they want to do, shut it down. Even when the lying former prime minister say he's not shutting it down, and in case you was closing your fridge or ponging a hammer, that is my own, making noise, and he didn't hear what he said, he go in and say it again. Petrotrin is not closing down. And what happened? What did we see happen? So you tell me, Hadassah, in your way, you really think that this government, this opposition now, have the autonomy or the whatever, you understand, to be pressuring this government and asking what they're doing about Petrotrin when they are the ones who close it down?
No, they do not. Of course, they do not. I have always had a sneaky suspicion that the reason why Petrotrin was closed down was to hide um, corruption and to save the former administration from further scandal. We also have to remember that for the last term, Keith Rowley had the shadow of AV oil hanging over his head. And I don't think that the decision to close down Petrotring had anything to do with its profitability or its ability to continue being a source of revenue for our country. I think it had to do with saving some people's asses. Excuse the language. So yeah, I find it really very laughable now that they would say that the reason why they closed down Petrotrin is because they were being fiscally responsible and it was no longer financially viable. So they made a decision. So if they thought that it did not make sense to continue with Petrotrin, why is the current administration Why is our prime minister, why is the UNC government now being pressured to reopen it? Why do they want questions about Petrotrin when they made a decision that they thought was the best decision, right? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. I think that they are looking on and with a bated breath because everything that the UNC does is going to show them up. It's going to show them up for the incompetence. It's going to show them up for the lies that they have told the public over the years. It's going to show them up for the fact that they were, in fact, very irresponsible with the nation's purse. And they are looking on because it makes them nervous. It makes them nervous when um, they see things happening in the south again when the steel plant has been reopened, when there is so much US interest and investment being pouring in to that part of the country, when the possibility of, oh, I also have to add, the reopening of the steel plant also means it's coming with 1,000 new jobs, right? So 650
Yes.
people were laid off, but eventually we are going to get to 1,000 people being employed after the final expansion, right? And we also have to think about what is going to happen when Petrotrin finally reopens. You know, there was a lot of naysayers. People had a lot to say about what transpired before the election with the now sitting president. Well, she's still acting, Delcy, in Venezuela, and the horrible things that she said about our prime minister. And people said for sure, for sure, for sure that we would not be going to be able to make a deal with Venezuela at all. Nothing was going to happen. But we are looking at how the cogs are turning, and it is just so amazing because our prime minister kept her mouth closed. She was very classy. She took everything on the chin. And when Venezuela experienced that terrible natural disaster, that terrible earthquake, our prime minister was, of course, one of the first countries to respond to send aid and a shipment to Venezuela. And I'm saying that these kindnesses do not go unnoticed. So now we have that Venezuela is now at the table, and we are going to be doing one of the biggest, biggest gas deals with Venezuela along with BP. And it's going to, we're going to be starting to see the returns from that as early as 2027, right? So I think the PNM is just nervous. They're nervous, and they are going to be shown up for the hypocrites that they are, for the incompetent fools that they are, that they were not able to do what our prime minister has been able to do, what she has been able to secure, what she has been able to get off the ground. Um, in a single year. Last week I made a joke that Stuart Young is going to jump up and say that they laid the groundwork for the reopening of the steel plant. But the very next day, the headline on the newspaper was that he's saying that the PNM administration laid the groundwork for the Makina Kausina deal, right? So, and I just have to laugh about it, But let's be honest about it. This started under the People's Partnership between 2013 and 2015.
Mm-hmm. I
That is
was
where the
there.
negotiations started. And for the 10 years that the PNM was there, all they were able to accomplish in the 10 years was to get the OFAC license in 2024. You guys remember? And it took the UNT administration to come back and to get things moving again. So they like to say, give Jack his jacket. Well, we will give them credit for what they did, for that one thing that they did in the 10 years that they were there, right? So that is the truth of the matter. And everything that Kamala Prasad Visesa does shows up their incompetence, shows up their cluelessness, shows up the fact that they had no idea what to do with this country, how to stimulate our economy, how to attract business and investment to our country again, how to make our country appealing to investors and other countries. They had no interest whatsoever. As a matter of fact, everything that they did made us unappealing, right? They made us unappealing. Other countries did not want to work with us. Ease of business was hard. There was too much corruption. banks didn't want to work with us. So yeah, and it took the UNC to come and move all these things away, all these stone and rubble out of the way, so that we could start to plant and we could have a harvest that would benefit all the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. So that's all I have to say for now.
All right. So indeed, Hadassah, you hit the nail on the head. Now, former one-day Prime Minister, any achievement under the UNC now, he always like to say the PNM started it. So he's the startup man. He's the ground man. They set the ground rules. You understand? So let's give him that now. He always want to say they started it. So let's give him. That is all they just do. They just start a bacchanal, start a propaganda, start everything. They start everything. But the UNC just have to finish it. All right? Under our leadership of the Prime Minister, the Honorable Prime Minister. She just be the one because they're just starting and could never finish. They could only starting and then they just disrupt it, mash it up for them own selves. So let us give him that. He want to say they set the ground rules, they set the groundwork, they do whatever. Give them that. But people not stupid. We know for a fact that they are destructive to their own self, right? So I want the audience to answer this. Put your response in the comments. Should Petrotrin have been closed or should it have been restructured under the PNM? Were they in their rights? And I mean, you hear so much talk, but they had their agenda. Okay, so put your comment in. We're going to look at it. Now let's go on to jobs and employment. What happened under the PNM? Let us look at the present Ministry of Finance and the Minister of Finance, drawing on official economic indicators, reported that total employment was approximately 620,200 persons in September 2015 and had declined to approximately 571,300 by September 2024. The 2026 budget, used another CSO comparison, 2014 to 2024, and calculated a decline of 70,600 employed persons from 636,800 to 560,200. Whichever exact comparison period you use, the underlying issue is clear. Employment levels were lower at the end of the decade than at its beginning. And we must remember Petrotrin. We must remember the economic contraction. We must remember COVID. COVID absolutely must be acknowledged because no serious analyst can pretend that the pandemic had no effect. But COVID cannot explain decisions made under the PNM in 2016, 17, 18, 19 before the pandemic. So tonight I am asking, what economic base was left for the incoming government? What is happening now? The government established unemployment. Now, the PNM government made all kind of excuse about the COVID. But remember, they started in September 2015. Yeah? We mustn't forget that. COVID was in 2020. What was happening all then? The government established an employment fund. This is the present government, containing 475 million, alongside 310 million in the unemployment fund to support job creation as it restructures employment and programs. And I want to say this. When PNM came in, there were thousands of people who lost their job. When the UNC came in, because of corruption and because of restructuring, there were people who were out of a job. But if we recall, for a few months, people were getting a salary without working while they do their investigation and so on. OJT continues to provide work-based training for citizens aged 16 to 35. And the National Employment Service continues connecting job seekers with employers. But here again, I want to be clear. An employment program is not yet the same thing as permanent employment. And the PNM like to talk about that, them CPEP, and that is not permanent employment. So our job here on Real Talk Corner is to continue monitoring how many permanent jobs, which sector, what salaries, how many young people, how many businesses created. That is how you measure a government. And our honorable prime minister keep talking about substantial job, not 10 days and they're working in and out. She wants jobs for the people that is substantial, jobs that you can go to the bank to get a loan to do something. When the PNM talk about employment, is a part-time job they're getting. You can't take a loan with that. You cannot live a stable life with that kind of job. The economy and the national employment drive came into play when the government of today, the sitting government, came in and tried to make changes. And of course, people have no, should I say, patience. They want to bash and bully the UNC government, but the PNM leadership, they think that they alone know how to bully people. They think that everybody must be afraid, who are on the UNC side must be afraid of them. But we not, I'm not afraid of them, you know. I will tell them as it is because they're a bunch of hypocrites. They're a bunch of deceivers. All right. They want to stand up and talk a set of nonsense, and they have done worse. They have done worse. So that's they forget that we are not forgetting how they treat with us when we lost the election in 2015. The government under the PNM did not wait 1 week or 2 weeks to send home those persons who were appointed by the UNC government. Those PNM workers who are there, they should be thankful because our prime minister never wants to put people out of a job. And we, the members and the supporters of the UNC, we just get upset because for a whole 10 decades, for a whole decade, nothing for us. PNM don't even consider when they come into power, they spelt everybody out without thinking twice, whether you have a loan, whether you wanted to clear something. We know for a fact that when they come into power, we have to go. Somehow, when we come into power, they doesn't understand that they have to go. But at the end of the day, our prime minister wants everybody to be employed. She wants everybody to have a good life. They have money to pay their bills and live a comfortable life. So what are your thoughts on that? Because the opposition now keep talking a pack of crap, a set of BS. You understand? As though our prime minister, they say everybody win. What is going on? Of course, everybody win. And it will take a next year again before things really stabilize and come into play.
Indeed. I mean, this is what we have to constantly be combating. It's the hypocrisy of the PNM. Um, and I think this is just a perfect example of do so, do like so, right? Um, the way that the PNM does harp about the CPAP and URP jobs, you would think that these jobs were comparable to if you worked at Yara or BP or Shell, right? But these were not quality jobs. Nobody could eke out a quality life working on a CPAP salary and a URP salary. They need to be so embarrassed, but they have no shame. They have no shame and they have no embarrassment with the force and the passion that they're fighting for these jobs about. And they fail to recognize the way that they decimated the middle class when they shut down the steel plant, when they shut down Petrotrin, when they retrenched thousands of workers from TSTT. You guys remember that? Right? What it did to our middle class when persons who owned homes, who owned vehicles, who contributed in a greater way towards towards paying taxes, towards the moving of the economy, no longer had access to disposable income, right? They fail to recognize their failures in that way. I continue to support the Prime Minister on the decision to get rid of CPAP and URP. And I continue to support the effort to put those persons in more ideal and more sustainable jobs that has a trajectory for growth and improvement, right? The PNM wants you to believe that they love you because you had a CPEP job, when what they really were supposed to be doing was to ensure that every citizen had the means and the tools and the opportunity to live the best possible life. And that is why I would continue to support Kamala Persaud-Bicester, because that is what she wants. People were clutching their pearls when she said that the PNM wants to reduce everybody to a nation of grass cutters. But it is very true, because they had no interest whatsoever in providing quality jobs. They had no interest whatsoever in maintaining the programs whereby people could get a leg up and a step up in an industry or whatnot. You guys remember when they closed down the International Hotel School in Chagaramas? Let us not forget these things. There were so many closures, there were so many programs disbanded, ended. No funding was available, for things for young people, no opportunities, no jobs. Let us not forget, no jobs, right? And when you come out, university and whatnot, people only want to hire people with CXC passes and whatnot. So what, you studied and you got your degree for nothing and for no reason? We have to remember what we suffered and what we endured under the PNM. We are now looking at a future where there are going to be more jobs. The stimulating of the energy industry in particular means that they're going to be looking for more skilled, more qualified, more educated workers, which means you have an opportunity to earn more. And we cannot forget what that does, the trickle down effect on that, what it does to the economy. It means people are going to be able to buy homes, people are going to be able to buy cars, people are going to be able to contribute in a more meaningful way to the economy. Jobs are very important, but you have to lay the groundwork first. The work that Kamala Persaud-Bicester is doing, the outreach that she's having with international investors, with the US, with making sure that these assets that we have, that the PNM left to rot, literally to rust away, that they are restarted so that people could have a chance at a quality life. That is the point of it. The revitalization plan, sorry, that is meant to bring more jobs and opportunities and hotels and investment and stuff like that. All of that will create jobs, but it's not going to happen overnight. How could it? How could it? Right? So I say to ignore the PNM. We need to ignore them, but also remember and be mindful of what they did and the way that they destroyed this country deliberately. To me, it seems destroyed this country during the pandemic. These businesses, these small businesses that were closed and whatnot, we have to remember. And now we have initiatives like the Buy Local initiative that was launched by the Minister of Trade, Investment and Tourism, Kama Maharaj, where local businesses have the opportunity to sell their products and whatnot. And when you buy local, it means that for everything that you buy, every dollar you spend, it's a small business that is being supported. That is a small business who can pay a employee, can pay a worker, that could pay taxes, that could stimulate the economy. These are the things that you need to be looking at, that the PNM had no interest whatsoever. The only business and commerce that was taking place under the PNM was the 1% was building this and building that, and Starbucks here, and a new Pizza Hut there, and whatnot and whatnot and whatnot. Right? We are now living in a more equitable economy where everybody has a chance to earn a better living. That's yours.
Indeed, definitely, indeed. And as you talk about the 1%, they were taking over everything under the PNM. They're still building. When you look at it, they own the whole of Trinidad and Tobago, because every state land, every parcel of state land, they just grab it up under the PNM. You understand? Whatever they were doing, they just grab it up. And people not understanding that the PNM was never for the man on the ground. You talked about it. Listen to me. We want to talk about the economy and national debt, because I heard the ministers they are talking about every agency, how much debt that the UNC government has inherited. Trinidad and Tobago, this one is extremely important, the national debt, if you all only know. According to figures cited by the Minister of Finance in the Ministry of Finance, adjusted general government debt increased from approximately 75.38 billion in September 2015 to 144.74 billion by March 2025. That is an extraordinary increase. And at the same time, net official reserves decline from approximately 10.459 billion in September 2015 to US 286 billion by April 2025. You all need to pay attention. The 2026 budget similarly reported that public debt had risen from approximately 69.7 billion in 2014 to 140.7 billion in 2024, twice the amount that the PP left in 2015, all right? And that debt servicing was consuming a substantially larger share of national revenue. Now, hear me carefully here. Borrowing itself is not automatically bad. Governments borrow, countries borrow, businesses borrow. The question is, what did the country get in return under the PNM borrowing? If debt doubled, what productive asset were created? And these are the questions we have to ask ourselves. Did our productive capacity double? Because you're seeing they have doubled within that 10 years. Did our energy output double? What they did is they shut down Petrotrin. Did our infrastructure double in quality? Did our foreign exchange position improve? Because I remember in 2015, 2014, you used to get US when you have to travel. Under the PNM, you wasn't getting. And if you get it, what you had to line up for how long to get 100 US? All right? Did employment increase? Those are legitimate public policy questions. And these are the questions we must ask the opposition when they stand up to talk foolishness. This is what those media people must ask them. And there were extraordinary circumstances during the decade, included COVID-19, which required additional government borrowing. The previous government itself stated that it borrowed more than 30 billion while preserving salaries and jobs during difficult economic circumstances. That must be acknowledged. But even after allowing for COVID, the incoming administration was faced with significant debt, reduced fiscal space, and lower foreign reserves. So when somebody asks, why can't everything be repaired in 1 year? How on God's earth that could happen? When the PNM came into power in 2015, if you recall, Imbert said that the UNC leave fumes for them to run the country. If all you recall that. UNC left fumes, but when UNC came back in power, they didn't even get to smell fumes. They found nothing. It was surprising, but they knew of some of the things. Listen, we really have to ask, why can't everything be repaired in 1 year? They're really asking that? With what money? There is nothing. Thank God for our Honorable Kamala Persad-Bissessar. They could say what they want about this woman. They do not have the brains. I know if PNM had remained in power, I tell you, you all would have eaten the bread that the devil don't want. They'll say you'll eat the bread the devil need. You will have be eating that bread that the devil don't want. And I don't know what is that. A new government does not inherit a fresh bank account, on election morning. We have to understand that it inherits the country's asset. It inherits its liabilities, its contracts. It inherits its unfinished projects, and it inherits its debt, right? So when you think about how much money the PNM left this country indebted to, and the UNC now government is trying to clear these people. People are frustrated, Let us not get it twisted. People are frustrated. Just imagine you have contractors and people who the PNM left owing from since 2016. When you all don't have the facts, you all don't know, and all you like to bump all your gum, right? But you all need to get the facts. We have who are in the fire could feel the heat. They have, and you know what does get to me? Them PS and them who support the PNM, they want us now, they want us to clear off the PNM debt. And yes, we have to try because it is the citizens of this country and we have to try to help to clear off the debt. But the people that we contracted to do work, we have to pay them. We cannot generate income to do what we're doing and have to pay off all these billions of dollars that the PNM left the country in debt. All you need to ask them, why did they leave so much debt from those years going back? That is what they should put a placard and ask the PNM, the former PNM government and the opposition now, why did they not pay you all when they were in power? Don't try to bring down this government. They're wicked. All you should know that they fill their pocket, their friends and family and finances, and we know who are their financiers. And like someone had said, if they were in power, maybe things would have still be going good because their financiers have enough money to service this country 10 times over because of the amount of money they got and suck the treasury out. So I really hope that Trinidad and Tobago citizens will think twice when they're talking. Don't let Penny and them stand up and talk a pack of foolishness and all they accept it. Gonzales and all of them. All you need to do research. Go on the government website and see what is happening, what they have left for this government to deal with. I want to jump into crime one time because that's another, but you realize now, Hadassah, they don't talk much about crime.
I don't think crime was ever a concern of theirs, you know. I actually don't think they had any intention whatsoever of moving the needle. They
Yeah.
heard our
They
cries
were
and
okay.
suffering, and
Yeah.
they were unmoved. They were unmoved by it. They don't care. They will talk about why you need police posts, and they will protest against Zoso and things like that. Every possible crime initiative, they will have an argument against it. But the actual crime that is affecting people's lives, home invasions and murders and robberies and stuff like that, they actually don't care about the state that they left this country in.
And that is the truth, eh? I think under the PNM, they glorified crime. It worked for them. As a matter of fact, yeah, it worked for them. They got away with whatever because they themselves was crime. If I am to give another name to the PNM, I would give them crime. This must never be trivialized politically because behind every murder statistic is a family member who is hurting, who have lost a loved one. Behind every robbery is trauma. Behind every gang is a community being damaged, being feared, fear to walk out on the street, to even be in your home. Behind every gang is a community being damaged. Only pay attention to that now. When these things happen, it put fear in the family's heart, in their mind. People want to close up in their house and even in their home. Remember how much home invasions we had? Crime remained a major national problem during the PNM tenure. Indeed, its own 2025 budget acknowledged murders and violent crime as serious issues requiring stronger policing. But in the police service itself, at that point in time, there was crime. Stronger policing, technology, border security, and intelligence operation. The borders has always been open under the PNM. The new government subsequently created separate portfolios to deal with justice, defense, and homeland security. That they had a problem with too, and appointed new policing leadership. In its first budget, the administration reported that murders and violent crimes had fallen by about 42% compared with the preceding period. Even when you talk about that, what is serious crime? And listen, a lot of bully. But the facts is, under this government, crime has been curved a lot. The percentage has dropped, and that is why we should not simply shout, crime done. The percentage has done, crime isn't done, There are still murders taking place. We know that. There are still guns. There are still gangs. There are still families being afraid. The proper statement is there are indicators of improvement, but the government must continue to fight. We have to continue to fight. There have been improvement, lots of improvement, but we cannot let the guard down. So hence the reason for what is taking place that they're still criticizing. You know why? Because they're not getting money out of the contract. Because everything the PNM did, I think that they had to get a kickback or something. It's alleged that they had to get a kickback. And that is responsible commentary. The fact that there is improvement and we have to continue to fight. All right. Then I want to talk about roads. I promised you all last week. We're going to talk about these things: roads, drainage, water, and infrastructure. Let us deal with the roads. I am not going to come here and tell you that the previous government never repaired a road, right? That would not be factual. But citizens also know that the condition of many secondary roads, rural roads, landscape slips, drainage systems, and communities that they travel through is in real bad condition, and we are trying our best to get it fixed. Hadassah, I know you remember when we went up, was it Toko? You remember what we had to pass through? I was wondering if we could drive. And people live in those places. So that, the question is not if they did any paving of road. Of course, roads were paved. The question really is, after 10 years, what was the condition of the national network that was handed over to the UNC government? The current 2026 program allocated approximately 1.1 billion towards road modernization and safety, including works on the Churchill-Roosevelt Highway, Southern Main Road Junction, Saddle Road, Wrightson Road, Raya Butler Highway, South Trunk Road. Well, listen, I see Valencia to Toko Road, the Solomon Hochul Highway Extension, and 93 projects involving landslide, bridges, and rural roads. By the creek, it's almost finished. I mean, it's like they try to rush those things out and then everything just collapses. It's the same thing with the hospital in Port of Spain. They try to rush things to say they do something, but it's never done properly and it collapses. And then what? The citizens have to stand the grind with more money being spent to fix these things. Flood mitigation programs have included drain cleaning, river desilting, embankment reinforcement, and road rehabilitation in flood-prone communities. So that's recently we have had a lot of rain. Have we heard of a
Yes.
lot of flooding like we have had under the PNM? Let us be real. If you heard of it,
Yes.
anybody, put some comment. Have we had much flooding? We have had some serious rain.
Yeah, I mean, we understand that flooding will be an issue that we will have to attend to maybe for years to come in terms of actually arriving at a permanent solution. But it has not been to the extent where people are losing all their belongings and all their valuables,
Exactly.
and it has
Exactly.
not been to that extent. The water still comes up, and it means then that there is more work to be done, and I'm pretty sure that Khadija Amin is up to the task, and Julie John is up to the task. But I feel like that right there is the main difference. The fact that Rohan Sinanan looked at the same problem and said it can't solve. She said they can't do anything about it. And then when people quarrel, he say, well, this was in 2015, eh? He say, well, it's 5 years to fix it. And then
All right.
nothing happened.
Okay. All right.
And then nothing happened. But what I wanted to talk about was the fact that there are so many, it's so unfortunate, so many trickle down jobs and economies that have come out of PNM incompetence and the dysfunction that we just think is normal. I would love to see the day when water problems is no longer a thing. And I really want to um, give kudos to Barry Paderat for what he has done so far, right? Because it was something that Marvin Gonzalez did nothing about while he was there. But if you think about it, this is not a normal occurrence in other countries where You go to somebody's backyard and there's a tank and there's a water pump. That was a whole industry that came out of PNM incompetence, right? We have people who order water. There's truck-borne water. That is another symptom of PNM incompetence. There are so many tire shops and car repair places and whatnot and whatnot. We have them probably more in abundance than we actually need to for the size of our country, because people cars are always in need of repair. That is also a symptom of PNM incompetence. And I'm calling it like it is, right? If we were living in a country where maintenance was prioritized, where the taxes that we actually pay every time you fill up your gas tank, if that money was put back into our roads, we're talking about roads and maintenance, right? We would not have the issues that we have now. That again has laid at the feet at Kamla Prasad Bisesa for her to fix it. We don't sometimes I don't think we take a moment to step back and think about all the things that we endure that we did not have to if we had ousted the PNM years ago. And people always knew that the PNM was the problem, right? When they got so fed up and they voted NAR back, it was in 1986. They understood then that the PNM was the cancer that was killing this country, right? But somehow they found their way back, they snuck their way back. And we need to acknowledge the fact that we accepted as normal a lot of foolishness and a lot of dysfunction and called it normal. And we called it life in Trinidad. And we shrug our shoulders and we say, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? But now, everybody being hypocrite and expecting Kamala Prasad Visesa to have the answers and the remedy today. That is unfair. That is unfair. That's all I want to say.
Totally unfair, and you're so correct. I want to big up Minister Barry Padarat, because while they are still, and the thing is, nothing could be fixed in 1 year, 2 years. You said it when Rohan couldn't figure it out. It is going to take 5 years, but he has done a lot at the leadership level with WASA. All right, they want to say whatever they want to say, and they'll continue to say. But Minister Padarat has been doing a very good job. A lot of people who wasn't getting water is now getting. They may not get all the time, but I want Minister Padarat to look into the Carlson Field area and the Susuland, because the calls would come, and because of the network I have there, people are talking about, sometime almost 2 weeks they're not getting water still. I mean, before it used to be worse, but it started to get, and there was something happening there. So, Minister Padarat, I need for you to look into the Carlson Field area. I understand that there are water tanks there, and the citizens or residents are wondering why they are not getting water. So that is something to look into. But a number of changes has taken place in WASA, and all Gonzales and all of them, all they want, listen, they're hurting. All they want to do is criticize everything the government is doing. Our time has far been gone. Listen, we still have healthcare, the repairs and reopening of the children's hospital, the return of CDAP, because that was a thing of the past. We want to talk about pensioners, children, and young people. There is so much. So we're going to do this next week again. We would continue, because there's so much that this government is doing that the PNM has damage, has brought to this, should I say disrepute? They have mashed up this place. So the repair, what was damaged will take more than 5 years to really repair, but we are only over a year, and so much repairs has been done because of an intelligent, bright woman by the name of our Honorable Kamla Prasad Bisesa, who is the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. And who don't like it, let them suck it up. And she is doing an exceptional, great job with her team of ministers, her cabinet. And who don't want to acknowledge that? It's time that always have to boo the opposition and let them know they are failure. They were failure for 10 years, and they're still a failure, because everything that this government proceed to do. They want to pull a negative wool over people's eye, but not so. Real Talk Corner will call them out, and we are here to let you know what is happening. Because what happened last 10 years, we should not allow that to happen, Under the PP government, the leadership again under our honorable Prime Minister, she had transformed this country, and you all allow a stupid propaganda by the PNM to vote her out and her team out of power. And this is what you all went through. And now some of you only talking a pack of nonsense. But you know what? So be it. Most of us, we know better. And we know that she is working together with her cabinet. Those ministers, listen, when you think about the Minister of Finance, Tanku, thank you. Minister Tanku, you're doing a good job. Minister Lee, in housing, together with the two other junior ministers, thank you. You all are doing a good job. They are rooting up corruption. They are bringing up the things that the PNM thought will be swept under the carpet. No. Minister Kennedy Surratt saying this is under planning. Thank you all. Minister Jolene John, Works and Infrastructure. I can't, I don't like to call names because I don't want to leave out nobody. Minister Khadija Amin, thank you. They are working. And I heard Minister Amin said something this evening in that meeting before I left, that the Prime Minister under the PNM, everybody traveling, everybody going all over the place together with the Prime Minister, entourage, them and the entourage, only spending money on entertainment and whatever. But this Prime Minister here, she has cut all of that. You're not traveling and go nowhere. Stay here. You are a minister here in Trinidad and Tobago, and you have to fix Trinidad and Tobago. So all ain't going nowhere unless you have to go. It have no set of traveling every other week. They used to be flying out. They left Caribbean Airlines in a mess. Okay? It is a fight. They left UTT, the university. All these agencies in a mess financially. A whole lump of debts that has to be cleared out. And Trinidad and Tobago citizens only want to accept that foolishness and want to talk against your Prime Minister who cares and who is doing a very exceptional job in turning around the economy. Dr. Munilal in energy and his junior ministers. Oh my God, there's so much. The Minister of Tourism. These men and women are working tirelessly. It's as though they don't even sleep. And if they do one thing and they go somewhere, they want to talk. They forget how much they used to be traveling all over the place and using up the purse, the money in the national purse. They need to shut up, sit down and learn, but they don't want that. They want to get back. So be prepared, Trinidad and Tobago, they're going to come back with propaganda. They're going to come with nasty things against this government when it's time for election. But you all have to show them. This is why we will keep reminding you all of what is being done under this government. You all have to be reminded. Don't take God out of your thought to talk about putting the PNM back in power. That will be the end of this country. I'm telling you, by that time, Jesus Christ might return. But nevertheless, I am thankful to our ministers and our Prime Minister for what they are doing in this country. We are seeing improvement. If you all are not seeing, I know when you don't have a job and your bills cannot be paid, you don't see nothing. It's only frustration. But I keep saying it and I will say it again. You all learn to pray, have faith in God. Pray for our Prime Minister and pray for her cabinet ministers so that things can happen more rapidly. People are coming in, businesses are coming and investing in this country. It wasn't happening before, like it is happening now. Okay, so let us have a little patience and let us work together. Things are happening. Not very long again, you're going to see the silver lining. So I want to declare that we are going up. We are going up and we're not looking back. We are going forward. Hadassah, your few words to our viewers as we close.
Yeah, before we go, I really wanted to express my gratitude and praise to their select group of ministers. It's Michelle Benjamin, Saddam Hussein, Julian John, Khadija Amin, and Philip Alexander in Port of Spain, North St. Anne's West, which is actually Stuart Young's community. Yeah? These are all ministers who are actively engaging in back to school drives, right? They are also very responsive around Easter time too and Christmas time and whatnot. And I feel like this is what distinguishes the UNC from the PNM. It is the heart of the ministers, the heart, and they say it's always from the top down. They actually really exemplify what Kamala Pasabi Sessa is, the heart that she has for people. And while we working waiting for the economy to turn around and for things to get better, it does not mean that people's needs cannot be looked after, right? The children who have to go to school and whatnot, and they are just doing some amazing back to school drives, and they have taken it upon themselves to get the book list of the students and to make sure that every book is bought and everything that they need to get back to school, proving that education is so important to them and the future of these children. So I wanted to say, specially thank you for that, and for leading with heart and for leading with grace. It's really good to see. And that's it for me tonight.
Well, we have come to the close tonight program. It's not about pretending that Trinidad and Tobago has no problems. We have a lot of issues. People are hurting. People want jobs. People still want water in certain places. People want better roads. People want affordable food. Yes, people want good health care. People want safety. People want opportunity. But rebuilding a country is not magic, people. First, you identify, the fact that things are not good. It is not good. And finally, we know we have a government with a leader who cares, who is about getting this country up and running for all the citizens, for the children. So I say give the government a reasonable opportunity to implement its program, but while giving it a reasonable time, we are going to continue to monitor. We're going to continue to let you know what is happening. We're going to give you the results. And when those results come, we are going to be honest. When government does well, we're going to say so. And if government falls short, we would say so too, because they need to know when they are falling short so that they can do better. And we have a government who are not thin-skinned, because you couldn't tell the PNM when they're not doing good. Everybody had to shut up, hush them out. And that is the difference, under the PNM, everybody had to stay quiet. But under UNC, somehow everybody's voice is open up. The vocal cords just be cleared so they could say whatever they want to say about this government, right? And and this government is no bully. They don't bully anybody. What is being repaired, restored, and the results, we are going to keep talking about it. But know that what has been damaged for 10 years cannot be repaired and restored in just 2 or 3 years. It will take probably another 10 years to bring it back even better than it was before. So you think about what you're doing, people of Trinidad and Tobago. Let us continue to share the program, continue to write your comments. We're going to read it. We're going to see what it is you want us to talk about, but let us not be unfair. Let us allow this government to do their work, and be thankful to all the ministers who are working tirelessly. And Hadassah, my co-host, she shared some name, and I want to add Minister Padarat. I want to add Minister Ravi Rataram, Minister of Transport. I can't remember his name right now. It's not coming to the top of my head, but a lot of these ministers are working really hard to make this country a place where everybody wants to be a part of. Even our tourists, when they come, they wouldn't want to leave. So I want to thank every one of you. I want to thank my co-host Hadassah for being a great co-host every time. I appreciate you. I appreciate my producer. I want to say how much, I wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, the way I do it when you guys are here. So let us continue to be strong, and let, faith arise in you that God is on our side. Pray for our Prime Minister and her team again and again and again. Don't stop praying. Continue to pray and lift them up together. And tonight, I just want to say, let the will of God be done, but let us continue to be strong. Good night until next week. God bless you. Goodbye, Trinidad and Tobago, and my viewers internationally. I love you all. Continue to share the live. and continue to let us know in the comments what you would like us to talk about, or if you have any information that you want us to share on the live. God bless you until next week, Tuesday, same time. Don't forget on Sunday morning, where I talk truth according to the scripture from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Bye-bye.
Hadassah, how are you?
Bye.